All right. Happy Monday and December 1st, Commune Education Revolutionaries. I'm here. I actually just did a really long live and it never went. I was like, I kept looking, I kept saying it was started. I'm like, well, maybe it's a glitch. So we're going to try again. It's December 1st, like I said, and it's Monday. We're coming off of Thanksgiving. I know there's a lot of energy in the world and in our lives right now this time of year, just regardless of what we're feeling, whether we're feeling joyful and excited and happy, or we're sad and missing loved ones, or cold, whatever we're feeling, there's a energy, there's some kind of energy going on. So I've been thinking of all of you, and I just wanted to get on and share some thoughts I had when I went on a long hike with Carter this past weekend. This particular hike is 5 miles. It's 2.5 miles out to get to a beautiful waterfall, and then 2.5 miles back to the car. And it's a favorite of ours. But it's taken us such a long time. It did take us a long time to get to the point where we could do that whole hike. We actually did this hike for the first time about a year and a half ago when my sister-in-law was visiting, and we drove two cars. It's only a 10-minute drive away, but we knew at the time that it wasn't likely Carter would make it very far. We had some real challenges with Carter and going on hikes for, I would say, a couple years. For many years, we would take him in a jogger stroller wherever we could, if the terrain allowed for it. I carried him in a backpack, an ergo backpack, for way longer than most people would consider doing, both based on his age and his weight. Carter is a big boy. He's usually, a couple years ahead of most of his peers in growth. And so I would have him on my back with his legs hanging way down. I have pictures. He looks huge. But he struggled with going on walks, I think with anxiety. There was a period of time where it seemed he was really scared of running water, both like creeks or rivers or even lakes. And, many beautiful hikes have those features. So I remember one particular hike we pulled up to park, and you could see the lake, and we coaxed him out of the car, and he just dropped to the ground like a wet noodle and crying. And we really just had to keep trying. We had to say, come on, let's get on this path, like keep your body moving this way, coach him, and really really nudge him. And there's so many things I've learned from this experience. It's hard for us as parents to really push our kids when they seem distraught, and for outsiders to look at that and say and be okay with it. Like, it might look almost like cruel to do those type things. But what I've learned as I learn about apraxia and I learn about from other non-speakers is that for us to push through these barriers, we have to get really comfortable with being uncomfortable. We have to push our comfort zones, because it's the only way we can help our kids and their bodies both connect in a better way with their brain, and to get through these barriers where their bodies just aren't cooperating. So anyways, we had a hard time, And so if you looked at my family now and you see me and Carter going on this hike, and you think, man, wow, that is incredible. They can go on this 5 mile hike by themselves. But really what it was is it was a lot of baby steps. So that first time we went on this hike, we made it maybe a third of a mile, maybe not even, maybe a quarter of a mile. And we found this really beautiful spot that he liked by the creek. It was a camping spot. There was a little fire pit. There was sand that he loved to play with. And that's as far as we made it that day. And then we turned around and we went back. And then over the next year or so, we kept coming back, and we kept going just a little bit farther, a little bit farther. And like I would always say, oh, let's break our record from last time. I would bring his big brother and sister on the hikes with us. I brought my mom, and with my mom, we reached this first bridge. There's a couple bridges on this hike, and that was a challenge. His body rebelled. It did not want to go over that bridge, and I had to use this really it's not scientific. It's this art of physically supporting his body, not forcing him. Forcing does not work. Pushing him physically causes him to go into fight or flight. He will drop and become a very heavy, wet noodle, or he will bolt the other way in flight, get very, very anxious, very dysregulated. So I can physically support him by giving him like firm pressure on his back or holding his elbow while motor coaching him, which I continue to learn more about motor coaching, breaking it down into really tiny steps. Pick up your foot, look at your next step, find that step on that rock, push up with your leg. And that day, when he achieved this, when he got up onto the bridge and he crossed it and he crossed it again, he wanted to do it over and over. We did it several times. It reminded me of when a toddler does something new and they just want to do it over and over again. And it was such a big moment for him. And so we had to do that along the way with all, like whether it was like a steep uphill or downhill or like climbing over rocks, I had to support his body. And every time we made it a bit further, until one time with his brother, we made it all the way to the waterfall. And now every time we do the hike, I see his confidence grow. He still looks back and asks for support on certain parts. But this past time, it was minimal. He's really doing it all himself. It's so good for his body and his brain, and it's so good for both of us to be out in nature. So it took us a long time. And so my point being is I've had so many times when I look at other families, other spellers and their families, and think, oh my gosh, how are they doing that particular thing? It could be many things. They blow my mind. Simple things like going to a church service or a mass or going to a festival. Like, oh my gosh, I couldn't imagine going to a festival with my son. Like, it's too dysregulating, it's too overwhelming. Riding a bike, other physical things like rock climbing, surfing, marathons, creating artwork, creative endeavors that might require fine motor, writing books or blog posts, becoming advocates for other non-speakers. These are things that autistic, non-speaking, or Down syndrome non-speaking, other abled people that aren't able to use speech, they are doing these things. And it's mind-blowing. And it's like, how do you get from point A to point B? And the truth is, there's not an easy step-by-step plan. It is as much art as it is science. There are things, though, that we know. There are things that we know to how to support, like I was describing with the motor coaching and the physical support. It's easy to get discouraged if we look at others and think, my kid could never do that, or I could never help my kid get there. I don't know how to do it. It would be so easy to do that. But our kids need us to consistently take heart. They need us to have courage like a lion. And when that courage fails, they need us to find a way to find it again. Okay? And so how do we cultivate that fierceness? How do we find determination in spite of these incredible challenges and setbacks that our families are inevitably going to experience? Because I'm not here to tell you this is easy. This is hard work. It's hard for our minds. It's hard for our hearts. It's physically difficult for both our children and for us. But it is possible. That is the golden ray of hope that you need to hold on to. And so we need to retrain our minds and we need to reset our hearts over and over and over. And comparing ourselves to other families, looking at where we are now and where they are, almost never helps. Okay? Instead of comparing, we need to be inspired of what's possible. We may not do the exact same thing that family's doing, and our kid may not do the exact same thing that speller's doing, but it shows us what's possible. The only time you're going to compare yourself is to compare yourself and your child to your past self and your child's past self. You're going to compare to a month ago, 3 months, 12 months, 1 year, 3 year, and you will be amazed when you look back. When you scroll through those pictures and see how far you've come, because guess what? Even though our kids aren't neurotypical, they still grow. They still change. They still mature. It just looks different. And we need to train our minds to see that growth, because that's the fuel that will keep us moving forward. This is why I created Nonspeakers Homeschool Support with April Bowden, because I need that place in my life for me, for my child, for Carter, for my family, It's a place where I consistently and constantly receive inspiration, encouragement, and understanding from other families that are on these communication and education journeys with me, these revolutions with my family. I'm also held accountable there. If I make a goal, I'm more likely to follow through on it. And that's not to say that I'm perfect. It's about making better choices consistently. April and I don't have it all figured out. We get as much from this community as we put in. And so it's about us always taking that next step, that next better choice. And when we get discouraged, because it will happen, that we have a place that will lift us back up. This Thursday, I'm closing doors to NHS for a while, probably a month or two. It's also going to be the last time that it will look exactly how it looks now, where you get everything. You get these 4 pillars of NHS. You get the community calls, the member calls, you get the Facebook group, you get the speller calls, and you get the guest speaker calls, all of it for one low price. This is the last time I'm offering it that way. When I reopen doors in probably January, maybe February of 2026, it's going to look a little different. And so I really encourage you, if you've been on the fence, to join now. This is an awesome space for us to learn and grow together. And so I'm going to be touching base with you a little bit more this week so that I can go into Advent and Christmas with my family focused on what really matters. I think that's all I have for you today. I would love to hear from you in the comments. You can message me. I will also be emailing my email list. This week I'm going to share Carter's current curriculum. That's one of the things I'll be sharing. Our next member call is a week from tomorrow. So doors close on Thursday, and you would be able to come to that call on Tuesday and ask any questions you have, share any challenges, be lifted up, and maybe share your wins or hear wins from other members and be inspired. I hope to see you there. I'm Susan May, and I'm inviting you to join the revolutions. Homeschool your non-speaker.